All right. I'm going live for the first time in a really long time. The lighting is not perfect. I don't care. I waited too long to post a video because things just aren't perfect. My hair isn't perfect. My face isn't perfect. My weight isn't perfect. And I just need to do it. So I'm going live because I don't have time to edit. And that's another thing. I got to face reality. If I don't have time to edit, but need to get some information out to you guys, just do a live, have it be messy and real. That's it. So I want to talk today about why my dad got sick, how he got sick. It's been a really long time since I posted. He got sick this past February. So it's already been, how many months is that? I mean, this is October 1st. So it's been like 8 months, but here's what happened. So I do a lot of things on the side. I paint on the side. I'm a lawyer. That's not on the side. That's like my real gig. I also sing on the side. And I was at a singing gig that was a bit out in the middle of nowhere. And so I didn't have very good reception. When I finally was finished with it, very, very, very late at night / early in the morning, I saw that I had some calls missing from my brother. Now, whenever my brother calls me late like that, I know something is wrong. So got this call from my brother. He said, "Hey, dad's on his way to the hospital right now." Okay, so for some context, my dad's 79 years old, and he is not a vegetarian or a vegan. He doesn't espouse to that, but he has cut a lot of harmful things out for the most part. So he used to drink a ton of dairy, a ton of milk. He'd go through a couple half-gallon cartons a week. And so I got him to get rid of that. And now he'll buy non-dairy ice cream. He really likes ice cream. So I say, hey, ice cream's not a health food, but if you want it, try to get the non-dairy kind. So we've been going through that over the last probably decade. And he eats very, 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 very little meat. Essentially, he'll limit it to special occasions when he's going out for, his birthday, somebody else's birthday, or if he's going to visit my brother. And my brother, he is like definitely a meat eater. So if my brother is cooking something, he'll have some of whatever my brother's cooked. But at home, it's not in his fridge for the most part. Like 95% of that is all gone. Doesn't eat cheese anymore. So pretty healthy, you would think. Okay, here were the symptoms. When I got to the hospital, he was not coherent. He was very fuzzy in his mind. We thought maybe he had had a stroke. He didn't have a stroke. There was no like heart attack, no stroke, no major things that the emergency room could pick up on after doing test after test after test. All the major tests were done. Nothing. So it was just such a mystery what was going on. He was disoriented. He had really extreme hot and cold flashes, or he was freezing cold. He was wearing this big poofy jacket, and he would just, wrap it around himself, and he was just shivering with almost with violence, and would try to pull it tighter and tighter. And he couldn't get warm enough. Then a few minutes later, he'd be so hot that he'd be just, stripping at the hospital. And this went on for a while. Then he'd finally chill out and he'd be okay. And he'd tell the doctor, I'm fine now, you're fine. And I'm like, Dad, you're not fine. We're just going to sit here till they do all the tests. All right. So they did all the tests. Nothing was wrong. They said, oh, you must be dehydrated. Now, I think my dad probably was dehydrated because he does a lot of yard work and he wasn't really, drinking maybe as much water. But they released him, took him back home. And that was he got released the morning of Super Bowl Sunday. So that's how I remember what was going on. He really wanted to watch the Super Bowl. So I ended up calling over there on Super Bowl Sunday, and his sister was there taking care of him. And I said, how are you doing, Dad? He said, I'm fine, because he doesn't want to worry us. I could hear it in his voice. You're not fine. You're not fine. His sister's saying over the phone, tell her the truth. Tell her the truth. Tell her you're not fine. So I decided to go over the next day. The next day, the same thing. shivering uncontrollably out of it, almost to the point of tears. Then he'd get really hot flashes and he'd take off his shirt in front of me. My dad never does that. Absolutely never. So I thought, I wonder what's in his fridge. So funny how food and what we put into our body has so much to do with what we experience. So I looked into his fridge and it was almost entirely some type of bread product, and he's not gluten intolerant. So it's not gluten. It was like, either bread or like chips, crackers, things like that. So that's all processed, but also it's devoid of nutrients, no nutrients happening in there. So he had a lot of bread products and he had eggs, bread and eggs. Now people are like, well, eggs, that's healthy. Whenever I tell people this story, they're like, well, that's good. He was eating eggs. Like, I don't think so. Legally speaking, eggs are not even allowed to be advertised as healthy or safe. Look it up, people, so people just assume that they're healthy and safe based upon a lot of, BS that's gone around for a lot of years. And that has to do mainly with a very strong and powerful lobby and marketing campaign where they can skirt around it. Okay. Also a lot of bros in the, weightlifting industry. They don't know what the hell they're talking about, but anyhow, they're not legally even allowed to advertise eggs as safe or healthy. So eggs, what they have macronutrients. It's basically, two macronutrients happening in one thing. You've got fat, you've got protein. That's all you have in an egg. There are no micronutrients in that. So I asked my dad, after looking in his fridge, and I looked in his pantry again, like crackers, whatever. He'd keep crackers in his fridge actually, and also in his cupboard, but just nothing but a bunch of, processed bread products. So I said, hey, Dad, are you taking any vitamins? And he said, no. All right. In an ideal world, we would want to eat a balanced diet full of like lots of veggies and lots of fruit. But if that is not happening, whether you're too busy or whether you just don't like whatever, you have to at least get those micronutrients into your body one way or another. And that means taking a multivitamin. Now, there are some studies that show that multivitamins aren't that great for you. Yeah, if you're eating like a balanced diet, but if you're not eating a balanced diet at all, I'd rather see somebody take a multivitamin than nothing. I really would, because if you are out of a particular nutrient in your body, it can really mess with you and it can be permanent. B12 is a great example. If you're not up on your B12, then that can lead to very serious, permanent neurological defects. Okay. So it's like vegans who are like jumping into this and they're all like, hippy dippy and saying, oh, well, I can go ahead and I can, just have whatever from the ground and I don't have to take B12 because nature will provide it for me. Yeah, if you're foraging in the forest, but that because micronutrients are on those veggies, but in the grocery store, that is not happening. All right. We live in a highly pasteurized, highly cleansed world. And on one hand, we don't necessarily die of cholera. So that's good. But on the other hand, it means that we're not getting the micronutrients like B12. So flipping, if some of these people, just they need a light on, and you got to have your B12, people. Okay. You got to have your B12, but you can't just limit it to B12. There's a reason why certain vitamins and minerals, they are deemed, essential. There's a reason for that, because it's essential to human life. I went and I got him a multivitamin. I also got him some electrolytes. And whenever you have a vitamin that you are taking, any minerals, you must take it with food. If you do not take it with food, it's not going to absorb into your system. A lot of vitamins and minerals are water soluble. So it makes sense that when I see people just putting stuff in their mouth and swallowing it without water, I don't even understand how people do that, but they do. Don't do that. You've got to take it with some water, but also there are vitamins and minerals that are fat soluble. you do need to take it with some fat. It doesn't have to have a huge amount of fat, but like even like just a couple of nuts will do it. So my dad, he's 79, he's turning 80 next month. He I wrote him down. He said, "Tell me exactly what to do." I told him exactly what to do. I said, "For breakfast, you're having this. You're having, whatever with a multivitamin." I bought him the multivitamin. I set everything out there for him. And also, once you're 65 or over, you do need to increase your protein. Look it up if you want to, but that's something that's important. So increase your protein if you're 65 or older, if you know somebody who is. So I do have him take a protein shake every day. Otherwise, if you're not 65 or older, and if you're not weightlifting and trying to build muscle, there's really no reason to focus on having all this like increased protein. There's no reason to do it. But the point being about my dad is that he thought he was eating healthy because he thought that he wasn't eating meat, he wasn't eating cheese, and he wasn't having dairy. And the eggs weren't doing it. It's the fact that they were devoid of these micronutrients, and the bread, all of that. Yeah, it was filling. He was doing low calorie. He was losing weight, but they're totally devoid of nutrients. So that's it, y'all. If you're busy, if you know someone who is, check on your own parents and make sure that they're getting their micronutrients. Micronutrients are so important. Ideally, you would get it in your food, but if you're not getting it in your food, don't try to kid yourself and take a multivitamin. And the multivitamin that I trust for me and my family, I don't know Dr. Furman. I don't know him at all. And he has no idea who I am or that I'm even saying this, but I use Dr. Furman's multivitamins. Like for me and my family, I always stick a multivitamin in a fridge so that it lasts longer. And my B12 is in a fridge too. For B12, I use cyanocobalamin because that is what's been proven to increase your B12 over the methylcobalamin that exists. So I do that. I do a sublingual and a multivitamin. That's what I do, and that's what my dad does now. And ever since I gave him the multivitamin with food that night after I went to the grocery store, along with electrolytes, because he needed that, he's been fine. Not one instance. So here we are 8 months later, and he still follows the same thing that I told him to do in his little like spreadsheet or whatever. You have your breakfast, you take your multivitamin, you have your lunch is a protein shake. I gave him the protein shake that I thought he would actually enjoy, which is Orgain. I don't use Orgain because it's too sweet for me, but for him, he needs it. If that's what it's going to take, fine. And then for dinner, he has a variety of things that he can make for himself that are simple, because my dad's not going to engage in big recipes. And that's it. So that's what I recommend that you do. That's how we fix it. It's worked for 8 months now. He doesn't still take electrolytes, but he does if it's a hot day and he's working outside. So that's it. That's what we've done. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. If you have a similar experience, something else worked for you, leave them below. But the overarching fact is just because you're eating vegetarian or vegan or whatever does not mean that you're eating in a healthy fashion. And either start eating healthier or, fess up to yourself, admit it, and take the multivitamins that you need to take in order to stay safe and healthy, and watch out for your loved ones. Okay, everyone, that's it. Mwah. Much love. And I'll see you in the next one.